Few cities in China seem to have a reputation quite like Chongqing. Nestled between mountains and wrapped in mist nearly every morning, the city is known both for its incredibly spicy food and its incredibly unique infrastructure. When I told my friends I was finally going to Chongqing for a test drive event, the response was unanimous. Chongqing is amazing.
But while I was pretty certain I was going to absolutely love Chongqing, I wasn't so sure about the subject of today's video, the Avatr 1.1.
With hands-on test drives and reviews of exciting Chinese market vehicles, Wheelsboy is the #1 source for China auto insights. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Avatr is an all-electric sub-brand from Chinese manufacturer Chang'an, and the 1.1 is their very first model. Yes, it's called the 1.1, not the 11. I'm almost certainly going to mess that up during this video. I've already reviewed Chang'an's attempt at a more affordable EV brand, Shunlan, and their SL03 sedan, and the experience was forgettable at best.
And the Avatr 1.1 is asking a lot more money, $47,000 to $63,000 US before options. That puts it up against competitors like NIO. Could it possibly provide an experience that's worthy of that price? Time to find out. But how do you get consumers' attention in the premium EV SUV space? Well, you have to start with an eye-catching design. Avatr has definitely checked that box, but it is certainly one of the most interesting coupe SUV designs that I have ever seen. That starts here on the front end with these LED DRLs and headlights that seem to be kind of folded into the creases of the bodywork. If that's not interesting enough for you, you can always take a look up here. There is an LED panel that can display messages and images when it's parked. The front-end design flows nicely into this steeply raked roofline and these wide haunches, but the best part of the design has to be here on the rear. Here you have this dramatic and rather small oval-shaped window with buttresses on either side. It reminds me a great deal of some traditional sports car designs that you guys may have seen before. This nearly flat trunk lid is also very different from any SUV I've ever seen. Notice I said trunk lid. I didn't say rear door. That's because this thing has a cargo compartment that's actually physically separated from the passenger compartment, more like a sedan than a traditional SUV. That cargo area, 394 liters, about 100 liters less than a NIO EC6. However, unlike the EC6, this thing has a 95-liter frunk. The only fly in the ointment when it comes to the design is this big black plastic piece on the side, but at least it serves a purpose. This is one of 3 LiDAR units that you'll find on this car. There's a matching one on the other side and one on the front below the license plate. These are part of the Huawei Inside full-stack driver assistance system. We used a very similar system on the ArcFox Alpha S that we previously reviewed, and we were pretty impressed with its performance on the road. Later, we'll find out if this thing can match that performance. But first, let us adjourn to the interior because there is also much to talk about in here. This car clearly has a very flowing and 3-dimensional design, especially here on the dashboard, and that is built around 4 different screens. There's a 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster, a 10.25-inch passenger screen, and a 15.6-inch center screen. The 4th screen, that's up here, a digital rear view mirror necessitated by that tiny rear window. But what really gives this dashboard a sense of depth and what the entire dashboard is really built around is this thing here in the center, this spiral-shaped thing. This is not a weather control device. In fact, this is the speaker from which the car's AI or voice assistant system emanates. When you talk to the system, this thing flashes to let you know that it's listening. Unlike some other smart EVs that we reviewed recently, the center screen on the Avatr 1.1 doesn't flip or spin or extend or anything like that. It also uses the Harmony OS, a system we've seen on other cars before. Now, each of these different brands uses a different interface, and my favorite remains the Ito M5s. However, the Avatr 1.1s is also very easy to use and navigate. Responses are very crisp. Never had any problem during my time with the car. As for the passenger screen, same thing is true. Has all the functions you would expect for media like movies and TV shows and music. The only problem that I had is, well, it feels pretty far away from you when you're sitting in the passenger seat trying to control it. But once you start a movie, I guess you won't really have to touch it very often anyway, so I guess that's not a big deal. Apart from perhaps this weird tornado-shaped thing on the dashboard, none of this stands out as particularly groundbreaking, but it is well executed. I think that can be said for the entire front cockpit. The material quality in here is quite good. None of it stands out to me as especially cheap feeling, especially on this car, which has the optional Napa leather package. Your other areas of interaction, take for example your window switches, which are physical buttons instead of capacitive touch, thank God, are all quite good. On the door up here, you have your seat adjustments, Mercedes-Benz style, and above that, this is the button to operate the electric doors. That's right, all 4 doors are electrically operated. The Avatr 1.1 comes in 4-seater and 5-seater variants, and while the 5-seater is probably the more practical choice, the 4-seater is absolutely more luxurious. That's because it comes standard with features like massaging, cooling, and heated seats, and it feels a lot more cocooned than the 5-seater thanks to this fixed center console. This center console actually provides an incredible amount of storage. I just kept finding storage areas. There's this one down here, there's your cup holders, there's this one, and finally, that big one back there. The Avatr 1.1 has all the kit you would expect from a car at this particular price point. That means your choice of 2 different powertrains, a single rear-mounted motor or a dual motor, that's front and rear. That means up to 425 kilowatts and 650 newton meters of torque. You also have 2 battery packs you can choose from, a 90 kilowatt hour or 116. Those deliver anywhere from 555 to 710 kilometers on the optimistic CLTC cycle. The 1.1 uses a 750-volt electrical architecture, and the company claims that it can charge up to 200 kilometers of range in just 10 minutes on a 240 kilowatt charger. Of course, that's only in ideal conditions. Okay, so I said that this car has all the kit you would expect from a car at this price point, but that's not entirely true. Power is not a problem. The 425 kilowatts results in a 0 to 100 kilometer per hour time of just 3.98 seconds. But it is lacking something that other cars at this price point, including Neos, have, and that would be an air suspension. This thing uses a traditional suspension, a 5-link rear and a double wishbone front. Does the lack of air suspension result in poor handling or poor ride? No. No, it definitely does not. In fact, I would say this thing rides very comfortably, and it feels a little bit lighter on its feet than any Neo SUV that I've ever driven.
The only disappointment is the steering, which is low effort and not very communicative, even in its sportiest settings. Regen is also on the lighter side, and it can't do one-pedal driving.
But now that we know what it's like to drive the car, let's see what it's like for the car to drive us by activating Avatrans, AVATRANS. I don't know how to say it, but it's the company's name for their driver assistance system, which includes 34 sensors and 400 TOPS computing power.
The system's biggest strength is apparent almost immediately, the smoothness of its inputs. Unlike previous systems we've used, which accelerated smoothly but applied the brakes like a nervous teenager, the Huawei system felt much more mature. Acceleration, braking, and steering inputs were well calibrated. A good example would be overtaking obstacles. Whether it was scooters, pedestrians, or construction, the Avatr 1.1 applied just the right amount of steering angle and brake to let me know it would confidently avoid the obstacle without having to swing well into the neighboring lane. All of this reminded us of another Huawei Inside equipped vehicle that we've reviewed.
Mostly it's been very stable. I would say the performance is largely similar to what we saw in the ArcFox Alpha S, with the Huawei Inside system. Again, same triple LiDAR, but with the same computing power, so it's not surprising they would have the same performance.
The 2 side-mounted LiDAR units on the Avatr 1.1 give it a much wider field of view, what resulted in some interesting behavior.
Interestingly, it tends to stay on the outer lane when you're merging onto another road. I'm told by the people at Avatr that that's because it's using the LiDAR to sense the oncoming cars from the left side. If we're on the right side, then it wouldn't be able to sense them quite as easily. Maybe not the way that I would do it personally, because you sometimes end up in the lane that merges, but it always senses the cars every time that we've used it. So I have to say, it works as far as I can tell.
The 11 also has automatic valet parking, which was demonstrated to us in an underground parking garage. The first time you drive through the garage, the vehicle will use its LiDAR and cameras to create a map. The next time you enter the garage, it will offer to drive you straight to your safe spot on its own. But unlike other systems, if it finds that the space is occupied, it will continue to search for open spaces until it finds one on the same floor. As of now, the 11 doesn't have a summon feature, though the company insists this is limited by regulations rather than technology. The city of Chongqing was everything my friends promised it would be, a fusion of nature and infrastructure like I'd never seen before. But even more surprising was the Avatr 11. Despite my misgivings about Chang'an's ability to deliver a premium EV experience, the 11 did just that.
Both the city of Chongqing and the Avatr 11 have both exceeded my expectations. This is now one of my favorite cities in the world, and this is one of my favorite electric SUVs.